Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Testimony Tuesday. My name is BJ Garrett. I am the Executive Director for Christ Center in Abortion Recovery and Education. And today I am here with my sweet friend, Hollie Craft. Hollie, welcome to our program.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you. Well, just give us a little bit of information about who you are, about your family, and just kind of introduce yourself.
I'm Hollie. My husband's name is Brandon, and we have been married for 13 years this year. That's right, 13 years this year. We have two kiddos, Kennedy and Eli, and we basically have a zoo at our house. We love animals. We have all the animals. I don't know. There's just that's pretty much my life. Work,
That's
kids, home. That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Well, we're just going to dive in and I'm going to ask you to just kind of go back to the season and give us a little bit of history and lead up to why you chose abortion and kind of how that affected you.
All right. I was in high school. I was a senior in high school. I had been dating this young man for maybe about 6 months when I found out I was pregnant. And as you can imagine, being a senior in high school, there's a plethora of emotions that you go through when you find out you're pregnant. It just wasn't, I didn't want to be that girl in high school that everybody talked about or made fun of or things like that. And the relationship that I was in wasn't exactly the best relationship. It had kind of taken me away from not the good crowd, like that doesn't sound right, but I kind of lost track of my friends that I had made when I got saved. And I just kind of hung out with, different people and people maybe I should have, I still had some really good friends, but I also had some friends that probably weren't the best. And, so like I was kind of with the wrong people and I just didn't, that's a lot of rambling. Just didn't want to have a baby in high school. And that is basically what led up to deciding that I wanted to get an abortion. And I was about 2 weeks shy of my 18th birthday. So when I told my mom, she didn't really have an opinion. So she just said, whatever decision that you make, I'm going to support you in your decision. Yeah. So now, there wasn't.
Hold on one second, Hollie. Remind me, so you were a Christian at the time that you got pregnant and chose abortion. And remind me about your family. Were they Christians? Were you active in church?
So I was saved when I think I was a freshman in high school at Fish the Planet. And I went to church on my own for a while with a group of friends. I didn't go to church growing up unless I was invited to go with somebody. So I wasn't like actively a Christian growing up. And then after I got saved, I really didn't stay actively a Christian. I kind of let my fire for God diminish, and that kind of got me into the situation that I got myself into.
Yeah.
So
okay. And the guy that got you pregnant, he was not a Christian?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, not that I just share that, not that it matters necessarily because abortion was the end result, but so many people, when they talk to me, they don't believe that Christians have abortions. They believe that there's no way that a Christian could choose abortion. And that's simply not true. I have so many friends now that are true Christian, Jesus-loving women that at the time of their abortion, they were believers in Jesus Christ, yet they still chose abortion. And being a Christian doesn't put this shield of protection around us that we don't choose sinful things. And so, anyways, I just wanted to just really kind of point that out, that it is true that abortion is happening in the church with believers. And it's devastating just the same, but it's not just a bunch of heathen sin women that don't know Jesus that are choosing abortion. It is women in the church choosing abortion as well. Okay, so sorry, go ahead. So you're
fine. No, so so my mom, she was there. She's just said, I'm gonna support whatever decision you make, but you are almost an adult, technically, so you can make this decision yourself. So I didn't really have a lot of like input to sway me either way. It really was just up to me. And my boyfriend at the time, he didn't try to sway me one way or the other. It was just whatever you want to do, that's what we'll do. So I just decided that in that time frame of my life, that is not what was ideal. So, and abortion was available, and that was the easy way out at that time.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're here, you're about to choose abortion, and walk me through that. I don't want the gory details. I don't want to paint this horrible picture for those that are watching. I've been there. I know the gory details, but just walk us through the, for lack of a better term, the highlights of that. And was it difficult to make that choice? Did you have counseling? Just kind of the highlights of that actual.
So I had seen my gynecologist here, and I had told, I made an appointment, told him what, I had made a decision to have an abortion, and I really feel like they could have been better. Like, instead of like, oh, okay, here's the name of a clinic, in Dallas, you can go here, here, here. This is, the one that we recommend, but that shouldn't be what they're recommending. They should be, like, oh, are you sure? Have you thought about your other options? Are you sure this is what you want to do? And so looking back on it, I feel like I was really kind of just pushed aside because I was a teen that was pregnant and wasn't really taken seriously when they could have done better. So then we went to the clinic in Dallas, and my mom and my boyfriend went with me. It was a weird experience. It's difficult for someone who's never been to an abortion clinic to go, because there are maybe not necessarily protesters, but there's prayer warriors and protesters, and there's all kinds of people outside of abortion clinics. And that was shameful for me. So because I didn't want those people to see me go into the clinic. And then they don't really counsel you in the clinic either. They just kind of say, or you're making this decision. Are you aware of what are you aware of what you're doing? Yada, yada, yada. You do a sonogram. They don't let you see your sonogram, which, I feel like now that if I could have actually, because I was about 8 weeks, 9 weeks, like I feel if I could have seen that I might have stopped myself.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I've had 2 kids now, so I know that I feel that way now, but I don't know that I would have felt that way then.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, they're just there to do their job. They don't care about you. They don't give you any kind of counseling. They just get you in, get you out, and move on to the next girl. And, that was, and there was maybe not immediate regret and guilt, but by the time that we got home, I was already regretting my decision, and I felt super guilty, and it would just not be a situation I would ever want anybody to put themselves in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So tell me, excuse me, after your abortion, kind of what happened? I mean, did you just go back to being a senior in high school, finish off the year, life is grand, you moved on? Or what? What happened next?
yeah, I mean, I stayed with my boyfriend. We were together for 3 years. I actually moved away to live with him for a while. And it just kind of, life went on, and I never really thought about it, because I pushed it back into this deep, dark file in the back that I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to remember it. I don't want to do any of these things. And then when I met my husband, we just, we're kind of, he has a child from a previous marriage that would have been about the same age as my baby would have been. And that kind of brought up some feelings like, they did it, why couldn't have I have done it?
Yeah.
And so we didn't talk about it right away. It was probably a little while into our marriage before we talked about it. I don't remember for sure, but I do just remember thinking that, that kind of brought up some memories for me, because he had a son that would have been about my child's age, within months of each other. And it was kind of hard at first, just knowing that I could have had a baby that age too. And
I can't even, I mean, obviously I know your story, and those watching don't, but I am always in awe about that piece, because I can't even comprehend how that would have felt, being with a guy, married to a guy now that had a baby really almost identical to the same age as a child that I would have aborted. And just that, I mean, that constant reminder of what stage of development your child would have been at all through its life, and just having that constant present reminder. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know how you were able to deal with that. I'm glad that you were, and I'm glad that you and Brandon are all good and all of that. I cannot imagine how hard that was for you. So how did that affect your marriage ultimately, knowing all of that?
I don't know that it really affected my marriage, and I say affected my marriage. I don't know that it ever really affected it, but the point in which Brandon and I started trying to have a baby, it was really hard at first, because I was everybody wants instant pregnancy.
Right.
They want to start trying and get pregnant right away, and just have a baby. And it took us a few months, and I kept blaming myself. I'm like, well, maybe if I wouldn't have had an abortion, because there's been some research somewhere that I read that, if after you've had an abortion, your uterus can be damaged and it can be hard for you to get pregnant. And so I'm just blaming myself. I'm like, I'm the reason that we can't get pregnant, not time, because
Right.
sometimes it takes time to make a baby. And, so it was really hard at first, because every time I would start my period, I would be like devastated, and blaming myself, because this is obviously something that I did that's causing us from not being able to have a baby.
Yeah.
So it just made it kind of tough. It didn't really, it did affect it, but it didn't affect it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So then walk us along, because I know that there comes a point where you're really struggling. So take us there.
Okay. So after Eli was born in 2012, I had severe postpartum depression. I had some after Kennedy, but I had struggled with depression and anxiety as a teenager and after my abortion that I had been treated for and kind of got over. And so after Kennedy, it was mild, but after Eli, it was bad. And it got to the point where I was so guilty about having babies and not have had my first pregnancy full term, that I was so guilty, and I felt guilt all the time to the point where I was suicidal. And I didn't want to, like, I felt like I didn't deserve to have these babies, and I didn't deserve to have a wonderful husband, and I didn't deserve all these things that I'd gotten. And which kind of led me up to the day where I decided that I was going to end my life. And then I decided, I was gone all day, wasn't talking to anybody. Nobody could get a hold of me. And finally I was just like, you know what? I can't do that to my babies. Like, I can't. So I called my husband and I was like, look, I'm coming home, but I need you to do everything that you can do to help me. Like, I need help. And so at that point, I checked myself into a behavioral health center and got medical help and got into a better place. And then when we were done with that, I told Brandon that I wanted to be active in a church again. And so we started searching for a church, and we found Flint Baptist, which is where we're at right now. And we went for a few months, and then we started going to Sunday school. And one Sunday, my Sunday school teacher was just like, God laid it on my heart that somebody here needs to talk to me about something. And I don't know who it is or what it's about, but I just have this feeling, and I just want y'all to know that I'm here, and I'm ready to talk to you, and just don't be scared. So Brandon went to church or big church, and I stayed back, and I was talking to them, and I basically told them my story, and I was like, I just need some spiritual help. Like, I need help. And that is how I found you, and that is how I found Care. And that was probably one of the best conversations I could have had with anybody about my health, was getting in contact with Care.
Yeah, I love that so much. I don't think I will ever forget. I hope I never forget that conversation. Because I just remember, like, I look at my phone and I see Jim calling, and I'm like, why is Jim calling me? And then he obviously made the connection. And it's like, and whenever you get these calls, and this is like my job, but you're like, okay, Lord, what do I say? Because everybody has such a unique story, even though we all have some common places, and we all have chosen abortion, in common, obviously. But it's just like you don't want to mess up, because like I have this one opportunity to connect with you and be like, how do I do this, Lord? Because I don't know what you need. I know that He has the answer, and this program is dynamic, but how do I get you to know that and to get you through the program? But I think for you, you were so ready. You were just so ready to say yes and to do the work, because the abortion recovery weekend is not easy. I mean,
no,
it's right. It's not easy.
No,
Pretty
it's not.
Brutal. Yeah. I remember going through my first weekend, and I was like, y'all lied to me. You call this a retreat. Like, this is not a retreat. There's no massages. There's no relaxing. This is like a construction zone, because it was pretty brutal. And I don't share that to scare anybody off, because obviously if you've chosen abortion, I want you to come. But you need to know that we're dealing with hard stuff. I mean, this is probably the ugliest of ugly that anybody has ever had to deal with. And when you come to the care weekend, that's what we do. It is hardcore digging into God's word, processing through all of the emotions associated with our abortions and acknowledging those lives that are taken by abortion. And it is not fun. Um, by the end, it's fun and you're laughing and you've had these relationships, but that first 2 days is brutal. It is.
Yeah, it was probably one of the most emotional, trying weekends, but it's so worth it, like, because it just really makes you step back and dig deep and pull out that file, that you stored everything away in and didn't want to think about. And it is a very emotional, brutal thing, but it's so great when you walk out of there and you feel so free.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know how better to, like, you're just free.
I have a weekend coming up on May 14th, and I am so excited because I never lose that fun excitement when these women walk in, and it sounds terrible. I sound like an evil monster, but like these women walk in and they can't even look you in the eye, and they're just so heavy laden with the burden of their abortions. And then just watching that transformation by Friday night and then Saturday morning and then Saturday night. And then by the time they leave on Sunday, they are smiling and lighter, and literally their whole countenance has changed because they're free from this pain that they've hidden for so long, and we've covered it up for so long. And most of us, myself included, never realized how much of a burden it was until we go and let it get set free,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing.
I 100% agree.
Okay, so as we kind of close out tonight, as we're recording this, anything else that you want to share to whoever's watching? Anything? This is kind of your moment. Share your heart with those watching today.
So I would just want to tell anybody that is watching, or anybody that's stumbled across your page because they're looking for somewhere to have an abortion, because with Facebook, you just type it in, abortion, and it's going to show up. That just seek guidance before you commit to an abortion. Reach out to BJ and her team, reach out to me, reach out to anybody that you've seen tagged in these videos. It's just supply yourself with the knowledge and before you do anything, because it took me, I don't know, 6 years, before I had my first baby, to even really acknowledge it. And then after that, it just spiraled downhill after that. And I don't want that for anybody. And telling somebody, if you had an abortion, telling somebody and reaching out to a group or, somebody like Care Ministries was probably one of the best things that I've ever done. It was hard, but by the time that I was done with my weekend, I don't even know how to just, like, how can I put this in words? Like, Jesus died for our sins. It's that simple. And when you accept, Jesus, when you accept that, you're forgiven for all your sins. And there is not one sin that is bigger than the other. There is not anything that is not forgivable. And it took me coming to Care and going to a retreat to realize that there was no shame anymore for my abortion. There was no shame from my suicidal thoughts. There just wasn't any shame, and all there was forgiveness. Yeah. And I didn't, yes, I was a Christian, but I wasn't so far into my faith and my walk with God that I knew that. And getting to that point in the retreat was a big game changer for my spiritual walk, that I was off the far beaten path. And now I was ready to be on the path to forgiveness and to be forgiven and to accept that I was forgiven. So just reach out and talk to somebody, and just talk to somebody. That's really the best thing that happened, was just opening up to somebody and telling my story and seeing where that led me. And that led me to meeting new people who've been through the same thing as me, and meeting you, and, you know, other women that are involved in care that I know, that I didn't know had an abortion, and just being able to relate to them and talk to them about the, you know, the things that we've been through. It's been a game changer. So I'm just really thankful for like really thankful for care. So
Wow.
It changed my life.
Yeah.
So.
It changed my life too. And I mean, that's why I'm so passionate about this ministry, because it changed everything for me. And I was serving in full-time ministry when I got introduced to care. But still, like, I had no idea how desperately I needed this ministry. It was awful. I had such a burden, and nobody knew my secret, and it was awful. So care changed everything for me. And if you have had an abortion, even if you think you're fine, you've buried it, you filed it away, I want you to know that you don't have to live like that. Satan is in control when he's keeping you silent. Find somebody safe to talk to. And maybe you're not ready to commit to going through one of our classes. That's okay. Just send the email. Let's start having this conversation. Get that secret out in a safe place, and just begin to break down those walls that are keeping you in bondage. I promise you, everything that you ever talk to me about through care is going to be completely confidential. We take that very, very seriously, because we know how important it is to keep those secrets, and not to keep the secrets bottled up within ourselves, but to keep those secrets in a safe place where you have the security that you can share without feeling that it's going to get posted on Facebook. Or on shared in a secret, prayer message, or anything, how we are with, how we get with prayer messages sometimes. But just make the phone call, send the email, reach out through Facebook, however you want to, but make that first contact, and let us begin to walk the journey of healing with you. So that's it. Thank you, Hollie, so much for graciously sharing your story. And for those watching, I just want to encourage you to remember, no matter what you've done, no matter what's been done to you, there is hope and healing through Jesus Christ. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.